This is Fit to Succeed in partnership with NordicFitnessEducation.com with host Ben Pratt.
So he said, look, we can only pay this, and part of your salary, you've got to teach 10 classes. You've got to stop all your community classes. You've got to do changing room checks. What are those? You got every hour you walk around and you flush the toilet and you clean the lockers out. And on Saturday nights, it's great fun. It's great team building. We buy pizzas and we do a cleaning party.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Fit to Succeed show. Today we have a former British Aerobics Champion, nonetheless. He is also the current National Product Development Manager at Virgin Active South Africa. He's the co-director of Chrysalis Promotions, who helped to run the International Fitness Showcase, one of the top 10 global fitness events in the world today. It is Ceri Hannan. How are you doing, Ceri? Good to have you with us.
Great, mate. Thank you so much. It's great to be here. Well, it's great to be here and it's great to be there. It's great to see you.
Indeed. So obviously you're speaking to me from South Africa today, from your home, and I appreciate you giving us some time to have a bit of a chat and a chin wag. And today we're going to talk about perhaps a bit of a potted history of all things fitness, group exercise, and we'll progress in and out of a few rabbit holes, which hopefully the listeners will enjoy. So are you ready for it?
Awesome. Let's do this, mate. Let's do this.
Ceri, your fitness career has spanned more than 3 decades, and yet you still seem to be as enthusiastic as ever about the industry and about motivating people to exercise. So my question to you then is, what do you think is the secret to longevity as a fitness professional?
Yeah, I mean, look, mate, it's a great question and it's a great point. And I think it's kind of cliche, but I genuinely get up in the morning and I've really got a zest for, I wouldn't say I've got a zest for life. I've got a zest. I want to be alive and I want to have that zest for life. But more importantly, it's the purpose behind it and the why and the reason. And it's certainly the industry that we're in is just, it's so amazing. It's changing all the time. And obviously, current climate, it's changing massively and it's kind of this adapt or die. So I think but if I look back over the last 33 years, there's always been an opportunity to wake up in the morning and go, today we have to do X because if we don't, somebody else will and somebody will do it better. So I think, it's got I'm full of acronyms. My brand and marketing team are always like, everything's got to be an acronym with you. And I'm like, well, that's just how it is. And you're from a training background and it's easy to remember. And I use an acronym a lot and I'll use it a lot today. And it's got to be fun. It's got to be achievable and people have to feel like they belong. And if I circle fitness as a whole, and I think as an industry where professionals are complicating the hell out of this industry, but if we cut it right back down to its basic level, if people have fun, if they achieve the six-pack, the feeling of feeling better, the partner, the marathon they wanted to run, and they belong, and we know that group exercise, if we're going to sway towards that, creates that community. I think that's my kind of goal. So when I wake up in the morning, my kind of zest for this industry is to kind of like keep ticking these boxes. And so on a personal level, you always feel better for training, working out, moving, walking, surfing, cycling, of course. But if I put my kind of product development hat on, how do I get people? How do I make people have fun? How do they achieve their goals and how do they become part of this community? And it's not always about the science behind the programming. Occasionally it's about that high five or that email or whatever that kind of communication they get before, during, or more importantly after, actually. So
I was going to say you've raised some great points there, particularly because I do agree. I think our industry, because it's expanded so much, it's become quite scientific sometimes and everything has to be evidence-based, so to speak. But you're really talking here about connecting with people perhaps more on an emotional level, helping them to feel driven, emotive. I love the FAB acronym. I think that's great. And it's really simple. It's an easy way for somebody to approach their day as a fitness professional to go, I need to be sure my clients enjoy it. I need to be sure they're actually moving towards their goals and they feel part of a community. I think that's a great way to encapsulate that. Now, I wonder perhaps if we put some context to this, let's go back in time just for a little bit. I'm sure you've had this question maybe before, but if we walk back to your very first fitness instructing experience, I don't know if that was a one-on-one or if that was a group exercise experience, but could you just explain, when was that, where was it, and what was it like?
Yeah, so I mean, look, it's a great question, and you're probably gonna have to pull me back in because we've only got 45 minutes, so it's quite a long story. But so you know, as a child in the UK, it was in the 80s. It was quite tough in the 80s, you know. So you kind of, you know, I was a scooter boy, I had a skinhead, but you know, I had my community, we had a purpose, and it was like, you know, you either became a kind of, you know, into football hooligans, or you were a scooter boy. So you know, we were a good bunch of guys, but I was very much into soccer, and I was on like an apprenticeship, which was, well, actually, it was before apprenticeship. It was more like YTS, the youth training scheme in the 80s. It was a bit of a Margaret Thatcher ism. So it was basically a 2-year sort of on-the-job training, and I had friends working. They were mechanics, they were plumbers, you know, tradesmen, and I was with Shrewsbury Town football team. So I was a 16-year-old. I was kind of doing okay. I was never kind of going to be the next David Beckham, but I was just okay. And you know, for a 16-year-old to be told, actually, mate, it's not going to, you know, 12 months in, you know, you're not going to make it. Now, in the 80s, I had a lot of friends did that. You then, you know, 16, 17, 18, find the pub, end up running a pub, and you know, the rest is history. Well, I wanted to stay in the system, and my mother, she's 80 now, bless her. She went down, and there was a club called Studio One. Now, you've got to remember, this is 33 years ago. There were no health clubs as we know it then. There was just, you know, the odd sweat and sawdust gym. And Studio One was run by, so Shrewsbury, sort of very conservative town. Studio One was run by Ken and Dave. So, you know, 2 gay guys. I'm a skinhead, you know, with a 16-year-old community reputation to keep up within this small town. And I went for an interview with these 2 guys, and I was just like, what is this, like, this gym thing about? Because ultimately my goal was to go in, get on a YTS, stay fit, and then become a footballer. That I still wanted to have. I had this dream of being a footballer. And it was back in the day. I think Tuesday and Thursdays was men's night. Monday, Wednesday, ladies' night. Friday was co-ed, and weekends as well. And Thursday night was a class, and there's some lessons to be learned here. Thursday night was a class called Jog Spot.
Called what?
Now let me give you some. It was called Jog Spot, which basically meant you jogged. Right. You jogged on the spot to music. Excellent. To music, and then you would drop down and do, you would drop down and do burpees, and it was, let me tell you, it was packed. I sit in board meetings now, like in 2020, going with very important people, going, how do we get more men in the studios? I'm like, maybe we should try a Jog Spot. Maybe that's the future. But on a serious note, you think it did what it says on the tin. We've cut the tail. So the corporate term in Virgin Active languages, we had over 160 classes on the timetable. So the consumer has to go onto an app and go, right, do I do this class, this class, this class? I mean, so confusing. We've only just cut that down to 69 different classes. Wow. And in the modern world, like today, where we're now creating content for the app, you know, you cannot have 69 classes. You know, you look at them, the HIIT classes, there's yoga classes, there's, you know, get it down to 5 or 6 classes. But in those days we had it. But back to the point, Thursday night, I probably got about 30% or sort of half an hour into the class, 30 minutes into the class, couldn't finish it, kind of probably vomiting in the back of the studio. And literally, and this is true as nuts, I never touched the football after that day. I was hooked. I love the music. I love the community. I got a complete new sort of circle of friends. I was young. I was 16. And again, trust me, I would go back then to my normal life on my scooter with my skinhead with all the lads. And they were like, what are you doing? Like Studio One, there's those 2 guys there. And, you know, we're from Shrewsbury. What are you? And it was quite tough, but I'm really glad. And, my little boy's 12 in July. And I think, you know, hopefully when he gets to that age, he can kind of, you know, stick. I didn't smoke. And my mates kind of respected me for the sort of path I chose. And, you know, I think we spoke about this before we recorded, that it wasn't, I didn't go, right, I'm going to become a fitness instructor. In 33 years time, I'll be running an event and I'll be running 130 odd clubs, developing products and programming propositions for them, you know, for nearly 1 million members in South Africa. I didn't think long term. It was just short term, do it for maybe I can be a footballer. Then found this thing called aerobics, which was Jog Spot. I wouldn't tell my mates it was aerobics. It was Jog Spot. Oh, we should run on the spot. It was actually HIIT training. We just didn't know it then. Right. You like run on the spot, do burpees, run on the spot, do more burpees.
Exactly.
And I loved it. And, you know, the rest, like, as they say, is history. I mean, whatever you believe in, literally 6 months in, those 2 guys split. They left. A lady called Dawn-Marie Wedlock took over the place. She was from Oxford.
Mm-hmm.
She was a sports scientist. She was very knowledgeable, but she wasn't the guy that taught aerobics. So she saw a 16-year-old who was getting paid £28.50 a week to clean showers, make cups of coffee, do gym programs and teach classes. And she just let me fly. And that was, ironically, my first appearance at the International Fitness Showcase, which was called the World Aerobic Experience, was a Dawn-Marie session. She did a class or a workshop called The Anatomy of Funk. And it was when Cardio Funk came in, and she did all, the sort of the contraindications between doing all these crazy funky moves. And I was the model for the funky moves. And that's when I went, to that convention, and to the point I was saying, I saw all these people on the stage going, I could do that. I want to give that a go. And, it was just, like I said, I could talk to you all night and tell you different stories. But I think the first thing is, a Thursday night, a class with a simple name, a class with, if I fast forward to 2020, if I would have been able to navigate myself into one of those 69 classes, it may have been ridiculously complicated choreography, or, maybe somebody that was giving me absolute technical jargon, and I may have gone, it's maybe not for me. Mm-hmm. And then maybe my career path would have got, maybe I would have been running a pub or, hammering nails in wood. I don't know. But I was very fortunate. And then so, I kind of grew with Dawn-Marie, and I saw a massive opportunity. So at 17, I kind of left actually that club, and I started to just go into the community. So I was renting village halls. I was putting carpets down, building stages, lighting open fires, recording my own music. There was no licensed music then. I had a couple of Technics 1210s, so I'd mix my own music, so you'd have your own tapes. So, amazing, like an amazing time, just, and actually time. How many, ironically, we've been given this gift of time to a certain extent now, where you can sit and think a little bit and kind of really understand where you're going with your life and your career. Whereas, I was 16, I was 17, I was on a YTS, the gym was quiet in the day. I would work out choreography for the evening, like run on the spot, turn left, run on the spot, and educate myself. Yeah, but I was on a YTS, so it was great. I was getting paid. I had on-the-job experience. I did leisure and recreation studies over 2 years, like a sort of sports science kind of sort of spin-off. And because there was two of us in the UK that were doing leisure and rec, and there wasn't another course for us, so we had a pot of money to find qualifications. So I got exercise to all the residential courses I did. So I was at Lillishall doing sports conditioning and the ball of weightlifting and
excellent.
Exercise to music. So, I was 16, I did the exercise to music course. I had to wait till I was 18 to do the exam because I was too young, but I was just tapping into Margaret Thatcher's pocket.
Great stuff. What I really like about what you've talked about there, Ceri, is the simplicity of things that struck a chord with you, that helped you follow a passion. I think perhaps because the industry has expanded so much over the last 30 years, maybe like you suggested, we've lost a little bit of those simple things, because I guess the fitness industry, it faces towards the general public, and where there's simplicity and there's passion, probably that's going to strike a chord with a broader range of people. What do you think about that?
100%. I think, and I'm seeing so many sort of similarities between the 80s and now. The guys are zooming the hell out of their classes at the moment. You can use Joe, I know in the UK they call it the Joe Wicks effect. Love the guy or hate the guy is engaging people to move more. If they're not moving so well, great. I've had so many kind of debates on these kind of conversations with people, because they're, he's awful, he's doing this, all he does is burpees and high knees. I'm like, well, great. If somebody comes into your class because of that,
it's all good.
Put your money where your mouth is. That's your opportunity to re-educate him to move better, not necessarily more. But that's your job, and you've invested in your education to do that, and good on you. But the guy, he's got that zest for life I was talking about. He's engaging people. I've got people here going, if you're a guy called Joe Wicks, I'm like, of course, so the guy's just kind of, he's making it happen. And the message is, it's P with Joe, kind of, that's pretty much does what it says on the tin, and it's easy, it's achievable. It may be hard, but there's no complex moves. It is what it is, running on the spot, it's burpees. And if you're at home, what do? You sit down and you have a go when you're ready.
Exactly.
So I think, the industry is in a really interesting stage. And I think, all the sort of, certainly in the 90s, and I remember in all the new machines, I was working for Fitness First. We were the biggest buyers of Life Fitness. So, we used to get flown around the world and go to Ursa, and, they were these treadmills under these red velvet pieces of cloth, and they'd reveal the latest treadmill and
Oh, really?
flash lights. And you'd be like, wow, this is amazing. But how the hell does that work? It's just, and to my mum, it's just a big computer on a machine.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we definitely went through a stage, and I'm talking more sort of mass market. I've obviously got a sort of big box operator hat on, but I think, and we can discuss later, I think, over the last kind of every decade, there's been everything from the big box operator to the boutique to the sort of budget, and there's a club and there's a proposition for everybody. But I think the nice thing about the space that we're in today is that the digital world really cuts through so many different barriers to entry, actually. Yes. Because I think when the boutique started, and again, because I've been around it for years, maybe a lot of my colleagues, sometimes we're bitter and twisted. Oh, have you seen that new club there? Those instructors, they call themselves rock stars. I'm not sure they're rock stars. I'm like, I don't really care. If they're engaging more people, good enough for me.
Excellent.
But I think a lot of the boutiques, and rightly so, but it is smoke and mirrors, literally. There are smoke and there are mirrors, and the proposition's amazing, and it's all enabled by technology, and there's a super cool app, and the service is amazing, and everybody gets a high five. But those doors are closed. I know they're opening now, but those doors have been closed for the last 3 months. And so that now those guys are just in a flat somewhere in the world with a dog that they've locked in a cupboard, yeah. And maybe some dirty laundry in the background that they push. And then it's all about, are they Joe Wicks? Are they Ceri Hannan? Are they Ben? And then it's all about the personality. There's no smoke and mirrors. So
it's a real leveler, isn't it?
It's a real leveler. It's absolutely a real leveler. And I think so, if and when we get back, and we are going to get back, I'm very optimistic to normal. And I say normal, it'll just be that new normal. I call it this, it'll be blended. I think there'll definitely be, the one will have to live, the two will have to live together. I think what it's done really well, and it's done brilliantly for the fitness industry. It's made us go, oh my word, we've been talking about this for years. And now we've got like literally weeks. We sat in a meeting with Virgin Active here a couple of days. We knew we were going into lockdown. We were like, right, we've got to shoot content now. And literally there was like about 10 tripods purchased, and like, you can have one, you can have one. What phone have you got? Right. Have you got data at your house? Yes. Go and shoot content. It just became like just this content creating machine. And then we realized actually that person hasn't got the best data. The background there isn't the best. So some of the quality of the content wasn't the best. But the cliche as well, it's like, content is king. Anybody can create it. I think the good thing about it at the moment is there's good, there's bad, and there's ugly out there. And I use the term a lot, and we all use it, cream rises. If you're good, and if you've cut your teeth, over the last few years in the industry, and you've got yourself educated, and you've stayed, you're motivated, and you can get that across to your consumers, then you've got a career in the industry wherever it is, if it's in 4 walls or outside of 4 walls.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point, that it doesn't matter where you are in relation to your current journey in the fitness industry. If you have that motivation and you can attract people to want to do what you're doing, for sure, you've got a business, you've got an industry to succeed in. Now, you've mentioned a few times there about your longevity, and I'm intrigued to know, because chances are everybody goes through phases of highs and lows in their fitness careers. And not that I want to dwell on any problems, but I just wonder whether we can learn something. Can you think of anything, any one low or difficult experience you went through and how you might have managed this? And then we'll do the flip side. We'll then look at a highlight. Why did that?
No, that's a great question, because I think as an industry we're great. It's like, everyone's on Instagram or Facebook, and you look like you've got such a great life. I get this all the time. You live in South Africa, you're on a beach. I'm like, but no one's having a bad life on Facebook or Instagram. Everyone's having a good time. And I think especially the fitness industry, we are, it's all good. We're all like happy, and we've all just worked out. So of course, I think it's a great time and a good opportunity to stop and go, well, what lows? And I've had to think about this. And I think one of the sort of, for me, the real lows was, and I think when I spoke about where I came from, and, I literally went from that small studio, then I went kind of self-employed. I was like community instructor. And then I remember just walking into town, into Shrewsbury town for my parents, and there was this sign, a big neon sign, very 90s, saying coming soon, fitness first. I was like, fitness first, never heard of them. I'd heard of David Lloyd's, Living Well were around, and Mike Balfour was with Living Well, and there was a number, 01202, it's a Bournemouth number. I went back to my parents' house, 01202, I can't think of the number now, but it was basically the number I knew because it was Bournemouth's head office number. And it was, hello, fitness first. It was Mike Balfour, like the MD. Like if anyone's watching this, I'm sure if you're in the fitness industry, you've had some experience of fitness first. They were a global sensation. Now, obviously in the UK, it's DW Fitness First. And he said, I said, hi, my name's Ceri Hannan. I'm from Shrewsbury. I'm a local instructor, blah, blah, blah. And I've seen you're going to open soon. He said, yes. I'll pass you on to my operations director, who was a guy called Sean Phillips, who was a really very inspirational American, like Mickey, and I use the term a lot, and I took it from Sean, Mickey Mouse never has a bad day. You know, it's like when you go to Disney, like if the guy in that suit is having a bad day, Mickey's still smiling at me.
Yeah.
And he really kind of educated me in this a lot of my acronyms and corporate cliches came from Sean, actually. But I basically spoke to Sean, and he was like, ironic, I mean, this is this sort of circle of life. I said, well, I've been to Blackpool's, I've been to conventions, because he was a fitness industry person that got into kind of operations. And the first thing he said, I was British Aerobics Champion at the time, for what it was worth. And I just started to present a little bit. And he said, Ceri, I've seen you at some of the conventions. He said, well, and here's a sign of the times. It was a fitness first, right? So we have a fitness manager, we have a group exercise manager, and this is your salary. Now I was earning, my dad used to go home from these classes in communities, and I used to have a shortbread tin, and I'd turn out all these pound coins, straight in the mattress. Don't tell the tax man. Dad would go, when are you going to get a proper job? And it was just, it was like £2.50 a class, 30 people, back-to-back classes. It was just, they were the good times. And then suddenly, you see these big health clubs, and Sean was like, well, we're interested, we'd love you to be a fitness manager, but bearing in mind this was Club 12. And I'm going to fast forward. I ended up national fitness manager for Fitness First, and I was opening, we were opening one club every 4 days globally.
Wow.
One club every 4 days globally. So we were flying around the world to open the health clubs. But I was really blessed, fortunate, whichever way you look at it, to start with Club 12. So he said, look, we can only pay this, and part of your salary, you've got to teach 10 classes. You've got to stop all your community classes. You've got to do changing room checks. What are those? You got every hour you walk around and you flush the toilet and you clean the lockers out. And on Saturday night, it's great fun. It's great team building. We buy pizzas and we do a cleaning party.
Oh, brilliant!
And we're going to, and we'll pay you £10,000 or whatever it was a year. And I was like, but I was big into my sport aerobics then. Sprung floors were a big deal. That was their set point. We've got big sprung floors, video libraries, free coffee, o'clockers. 20 treadmills. It was the big sell. So I was like, wow, I'm in. So I started with them. So without kind of sort of digressing too much, started with them and then became part of this kind of global thing. And it was really, they'd not even floated on the alternative investment market then. It was just Club 12, I think Club 13, maybe it was Birmingham, but a couple of clubs after that, they floated. I was a fitness manager, give it an envelope, going, oh, there's some equity. Like, what's that? Some shares in there. Like, a fitness manager, like with shares. Like, what is this? I had to kind of, well, there wasn't Google. I think I had to ask my dad, what does shares mean, Dad, in a business? So, and there's this club called, and it was just like an amazing journey. And I went from there to club manager, and I grew with the company. And long story short, national fitness manager, 150 clubs, one club every 4 days, Australia, buy health lands. Go to Amsterdam, open a club there, exciting, great stuff, all the corporate stuff, fly to Ursa. And then it just changed. Like, then it became, right, we're going to bring in a new guy. So Sean sort of stayed with the business, but it wasn't as sort of in that kind of operations role. And another guy came in from, it was very much, right, the business is going to get serious. And a guy came in from, I think he'd set up Standard Bank, great guy, but very corporate. We changed the curly Fs. I don't know if you remember those fluorescent Fs. it was all blue, and I was like, it's the same as cannons, which is the same as greens, which is the same, and everyone kind of had this same super clean, let's just play things safe corporate identity. And I just spent, and you'll know, like Richard Callender, Kev Yates, all those guys. I had a great team. Richie Callender was my southern regional fitness manager. Kev Yates was my northern regional, and we just travel around the country on our hands free, just talking about, how are we going to like give members a better experience? How are we going to what's the next new class? I mean, we were just passionate about fitness, and we were blessed to have, a brand like Fitness First to kind of play within. But it just changed. It became very serious. It was very processed. And, my strength is very much sort of innovation and being able to think and be sort of quite fast at turning things around. It was very, and I just got to a stage where I was like, you know what, this is just my own personal values and the company values. The two are here. And I literally walked into Mike's office, and I basically handed over quite a lot of money in equity. He was really good. They kind of paid, X amount a month of, you could sort of say like a redundancy package, even though I'd gone to them, and they were great. But I basically...
Sorry to interrupt, okay. Are you saying that it got to the point where the business changed so much that you felt you had no choice but to leave because it was not what you wanted to be doing? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And actually my personal brand, I guess, I was presenting a lot. We changed the model. So we went to Australia, which is, ironic. I was talking to you earlier about how many PTs we've got. So in Australia at the time, it was health and rackets, and in South Africa, which is weird because this is where I am, it was health and rackets here, health lands in Australia, and it was the self-employed model, so you would go, I remember going across to Australia to the Bond Street, which is a massive club in Australia, in Sydney. And I remember walking in, I came out with like handfuls of business cards, PTs. Do you want a trainer? Do you want a trainer? Do you want a trainer? And it was just like, wow, this is different. But it was the way we were going. So when we came back, we adopted Tim Keatley and myself. Tim headed up personal training. Tim went on to be, he was vice president of sales and for TSI in the States. So Tim's over in America now. He headed up more PT. I brought back Group X. And it just became really, everything's KPI driven. And I get it. We're running a business that happens to be fitness. But just if I'm brutally honest, I'm kind of struggling to articulate, I guess, with the fun went out of it. Yeah. And on a personal level, when I was doing conventions, people going, no, it's just not what it used to be. And I felt it was reflecting on me as a personal brand.
Yeah, sure.
And we left. I kind of left, and it was quite a ballsy thing looking back to do. I kind of one of those things you don't really think about. You just end up, and you feel really liberated. I remember walking around head office feeling like I was the cat that got the cream. And then
so
the next day I was like...
Did you leave into nothing then? You left to avoid?
I left into nothing. I left it to nothing. I think we were looking, me and my wife were looking at maybe doing some stuff locally. I think as well, it's like yourself traveling, like sounds great, but it was bloody lonely, It's like we were opening clubs everywhere. We were doing master classes. I was down in Bournemouth from Shrewsbury was about 5 hours. I put on a load of weight. I can show you I can show you a big fat guy with a big mullet that used to be me.
I don't believe that.
And endless hotels, exactly. So, and I was just that guy that ended up just talking about fitness and not really doing it. So took a bit of time out, but to be honest, and that I guess was my low of actually then going back. And it was, I tell you what, this is quite interesting time-wise. It was when Big Brother first started. And I remember people thinking, is he going in the Big Brother house? Because I kind of just disappeared. I disappeared for 9 weeks. Going to come out with nasty Nick or something. But, and it was just an opportunity. I remember I bought a car because I had a big businessman's company car and a big laptop and a big mobile phone for ages. And I had a bit of time off really. And then just, it was one of those, whether it's because you put it out there, opportunities started to come back. And I then started to do more consultancy work, but really nice, not just stuff that was a bit too risky. It was like, right, you're going to do it. I did a day a week with, I used to call it Shock Wednesdays with Jonathan and Justine up in Manchester. Shock was the youth fitness brand. It was the franchise for kids.
I'm with you.
So I did some programming for them on a Wednesday, and then I did some work with JJB that were kind of a lot of my colleagues from Fitness First. And I used to do a lot of stuff, going in, do a quick audit of the business, and it would generally be quite a cut and paste, going in, going, you're not really looking after group exercise. You've got it's Gordon Ramsay. It's Gordon Ramsay goes into a restaurant. He goes,
this is the problem.
You've got a restaurant in the harbour. You're not offering any local fish. You've got millions of items on here. Get rid of the crap. Start local. Make it warm, make it fuzzy, and all that kind of stuff. And I would generally do that with brands and go in and go, let's try and work with some local heroes.
Nice.
And that was when the time when Les Mills, Zumbas, all the big brands were doing their things as well. So if I could work with a brand that had a really strong brand and marketing team, it was a bonus, because I could be creative and think of stuff, and then I could sit with somebody and they could wrap it up and make it look pretty, and then we could take it to market.
I like that. You've kind of also discussed the next thing I was going to ask. We don't need to ask that, which was that how did you work out of it? And actually you used that as a springboard into your consultancy work, which I'm sure led on to other things because you were interacting with the right kind of people, I guess.
Yeah, well, to that point, I guess that's how I got here. So I'm talking about the circle of life, and Derek Crawford's still with DW Fitness First. He's really high up now, but I took him on as a regional fitness manager. He's a great guy, Derek. And he called me out of the blue when I was doing my Shock Wednesdays and a bit here and a bit there. And he said, there's this show called Strictly Come Dancing, and the BBC and Fitness First have sort of struck this deal to do like a Strictly Come Dancing class. And typical Fitness First, like shoot first, aim later. He said, and we've said yes, and then put the phone down. And then he phoned me and said, I know you used to work for us, and would you be interested in sort of managing the project? And I was like, it was that kind of, without coining Richard Branson, just say yes and then find a way after. Yeah, I'll do it. Put the phone down. So I phoned Joe Parry, and Joe's obviously amazing at dance and stuff. So Joe was actually in Club of Santa, and I said, Joe, I've got a great opportunity. You used to work for Fitness First. I used to work for Fitness First. Can you create a ballroom dance program? So I kind of steered it, and again, we'll have a waltz track and a foxtrot and a this track and a that track. We got the music license through Power Music. And then we actually had the BBC. We had that music as well. So we had the CDs cut. We shot the choreography. So we basically did a Zumba / Les Mills kind of shoot the choreography, get the music, take her out, and I think she had 15 dates around all the Fitness First clubs. And it was just when Zumba launched, and Strictly in the UK went boom like that, and not because it was my programming, not because it was Joe's. A massive part of it was because it was BBC rubber stamped.
Absolutely.
It was lovely marketing. It was a big mirror ball. It did what it said on the tin. It was simple. It was fun. It was achievable. People felt like they belonged.
Absolutely.
And it was the postal strike in the UK. So I had to go from Shrewsbury, and it was Virgin Active. Crikey. It was what Peter Stevens used to run. It was the 100th. When Fitness First opened their 100th club, there was a big, massive party, and I was at that party, as was a lady called Elaine Jobson. She was head of sales for London. So that's where Joe was running her training. Because of the postal strike, I've got a bag full of CDs, a bag full of DVDs. Joe makes her way down there. All these excited dancers are ready to do Joe's training. I rock up, I've got goodies, great stuff. And then I introduced Joe. Joe got on with the training, and I sat there drinking Ben Shaw's coffee, which is the free coffee they used to do, which is really bad. But before I drove back, and my phone went, and an international dialing and code, and it was Elaine Jobson, phoning from South Africa. So I said, hey, wow, I said, this is so spooky, Elaine, because the last time I spoke to you was in the club I'm sat in now. I'm sat in Fitness First. Which club was it? I'm sat in Fitness First. I think it was White City. Was it White City by the BBC? But I'm sat in Fitness First, and you used to be here, and I'm here now. And we started chatting. She said, that's really weird, And she said, I know, the reason I'm calling is that I know you've launched this program, and we've heard some good feedback. And she said, we've just launched Zumba exclusively in South Africa, but we want to start to create proprietary programs for Virgin Active in South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be interested in coming to have a chat, just to do some consultancy work? And I was like, yes, put the phone down. And then literally on the M1, Carly, who's still with the company, Elaine's now MD of Jets in Australia. Carly, the PA to Elaine, called me and said, right, we're going to book you a flight next week. You're coming out for 4 days. And I went out there, and within 24 hours, they were like, oh, you seem to know what you're talking about. You've got good passion for the industry. How'd you fancy moving out here? And I was like, South Africa, you know,
wow, big change.
Get eaten by a lion, or, you know, what, all the crime and all, you know, all the negative stuff you hear about it. And then, you know, the rest is history. They flew with me and my wife back out the following week. And that was 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic.
Nearly 11 years ago.
Exciting times for you. I like how that story flowed, that you overcame adversity. You then tried to put your I suppose your wood back in the fire a little bit to get things going. And then that led to things, and now has given you another new opportunity. And that thought process leads me to, I'm going to ask you 2 more questions because we are coming up on time. The first of those is that success is rarely based upon the occasional one big decision. Now, you've expressed through your stories some things that led to big choices and led to big decisions, but I've often found that usually success is based on regular, consistent, small habits. And those small habits eventually lead to the big opportunity. So I wonder if you could, if first of all, do you agree? And if you do, what small habit or habits do you engage in on a regular basis that you believe continue to help you to succeed?
Yeah, mate, I actually thought about this when we were sort of chatting earlier, and I looked at some of those sort of questions, and when I looked at it, I thought, you know, I'm not really that I didn't think I'm that kind of guy, and I don't think I'm that kind of guy, but I definitely, and even today's a really good example, and I'm a sort of a great believer in, like, you know, everything is for a reason, even though I'm not really sure why or who, but that, you know, some of those stories I've told, everything from, you know, my mum asking the guy at the gym and doing that Thursday night class, and never, everything seems to have just flowed. But so I'm not, but and it's really cliche, and it's that kind of just get used to being kind of uncomfortable. When you on a personal level, when I'm uncomfortable, you feel something inside. You feel growth, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, today's a really good example. So today's a public holiday in South Africa. We've had a tough, like we as a business, we thought we were going to open, then we're not. We've just opened Botswana, then it's closed again. They've gone back into lockdown. So I'm not going to lie, it's been really tough. There's been we've got a little property in Wales. We've been waiting for a grant to come back from the Welsh Tourist Board, and it's not there, and with emails. So today's been a bit of a, but just like now, like sat talking to you, I can, and whether it's just good old fashioned adrenaline, but that works. And it does work. So, and I'm exactly that. So I'm a great believer in moving. I know, you know, my wife will sort of testament to that, you know, I'm like, you know, I'm just going to go and train. Do you have to? Well, trust me, it's in your best interest.
I'll be in a better mood after.
And it's that kind of thing. It's this stuff. And the more I do this stuff, the more I go, I need to do more of this but having said that as well, like today, I'm quite happy to kind of just procrastinate. You know, yes, I've got a holy t-shirt on, but at least it's relatively clean, but I have got my slippers on. So, you know, I would have been quite happy to have just had the day I've had today. I didn't train today. I've got a live stream tomorrow morning at 7:30. So I thought I'll save myself a little bit. I was going to be getting like too fatigued live on camera. And I did a shoot yesterday. So I thought I'll have a day off training and stuff. And as nice as it sounds, it's been just like one of those, you know what I mean? I'm not going to look back and tell, you know, if we repeat this this kind of conversation in 10 years time, I'm not going to be talking about it today apart from this conversation we had.
Yeah, I get you.
I mean,
sometimes the day off feels like it'll be a good thing, but it just leads to what a waste of a day.
Yeah, no, exactly that. So I haven't really got an answer for it apart from the fact I know I really thrive on being uncomfortable, on being under tight time frame. So it is cliche, but it's get up early, it's make your bed, it's clean your teeth, it's like put a fresh t-shirt on, it's move, it's train. Say
I
yes.
think those little things are important. I mean, even just what you said there, movement on a daily basis. It doesn't have to be exercise. It can just be movement. And, some things that I chose to do when my gym locked down in the local area that I lived in was I was like, well, I'm probably not going to train by myself in my little downstairs basement room every single day. That's not going to happen. So I decided I would walk every day, and I would listen to stuff on podcasting and whatever to at least start my day right. So, and pretty much for the last 2.5 months, I've done that. I've got up, gone out, and I've walked. And that small start to the day, that bit of movement, almost always set me up to feel better about what I could accomplish that day. And you've kind of already mentioned that. You said, oh, you're having a bad day. You know what? I'm going to go and move because I know it'll make me feel better. And so that is, for me, a little habit. It may not be the big, grandiose decision-making habit, but it's a little habit that helps you function better so that you can be successful.
Yeah, but it is for me now. I mean, even having this conversation, I'm like, that is something, it needs to go in. I'm still old school. I've got a diary. I've got like 3 diaries.
All good. Whatever works.
But, it's one of those, like, it should be, get up 30, it's stuff we tell other people, get up 30 minutes beforehand and just, it only takes 20 minutes, or like I said, go for a walk, and we're really blessed. I mean, it's been quite a challenge. So, we've been in this place just over 12 months, and literally, like, through that window is the beach. The beach is there, but it's been locked. It's been locked. So it's like, literally we wake up in the morning, you can hear seals barking, and it's just an amazing place, but we can't go on there. But like pre-COVID, I kind of had that kind of sort of religiously take the dogs on the beach, go to work, even if I've got relatively smart clothes on, go to work with sand between your toes, which was, stuff that I couldn't do generally in the UK.
Awesome.
Or if I did do it at Fitness First in the bad times where it got very corporate, I'd have got told off. Actually, with this little bit David Beckham's great because he allowed everybody to get away with having a bit of stubble.
Absolutely.
I remember my new boss, which was one of the random decisions that they went, this relationship needs to change. He was like, I see you forgot your razor. Give me one of those, like, just in a corridor. And I'm like, yeah, we need to kind of, our paths need to.
You're talking about the Fitness First leaving experience there.
That was the Fitness First one, yeah.
So what I'd like to ask you, Ceri, is with your sort of magic ball in place, looking back at what you've achieved across multiple areas of success, PT, big corporate, group exercise, and now looking forward, what are your predictions for future trends in the industry over the next 10 years? What will trend upwards and become successful? What might fall away? What do you think?
Jog spot. Thursday night jog spot. Great point. I mean, I've had so many, we've all been given this gift of time, and I've listened to so many webinars, and Kev Yates and Dean Hodgkin, we're on a group. So we are sending each other kind of, data and, really some good, insightful reports that are coming out, and they're coming out thick and fast at the moment. And Technogym, I listened to one today, a really good one. And I still, the artificial intelligence and all kind of the cool things that people are talking about, and the digital and the tech. And I'm like, yes, great. I get it. But I'm a simple thinker. I still think, for me, if it ain't fun, if people don't achieve anything, and if they don't feel like they belong, doesn't matter. Whether it's Jog Spot, whether it's Zoom workouts, or whether it's the latest kind of artificial intelligence. But what I think, as an industry, to give you kind of hopefully a little bit more of an articulate answer to that, I think we've just got to, and I will say this, and I mean it sincerely, I think as a fitness industry, we are really good. Globally, we do it as a Virgin Active team a lot, and I'm always really mindful I say this, but I think, when we try and collaborate, it's great, but we always look at it from, well, this is what I think, and then this is what I think, and then this is, and because we're all very passionate fitness people, and it's like any business. Just look at it, and the industry just needs to look at it through the customer's eyes, and also not just look at the competitor or the competitive gym or the alternative gym around the corner, be it a CrossFit box, be it a body tech or whatever it is, but ultimately look at other businesses as your competitor and then from that. And I think that's really going to be the future. So it's, you know, funny enough, we were looking for it's a bit called a fat sack. It's a bean bag.
Mm-hmm.
So the other night, like lying in bed, Google bean bags in South Africa, and I straight away, like, so I'm lying on one side of the bed. Lydia's on like Facebook, obviously, you know, been together 30 odd years. They say romance is dead. So, and she's flicking, and straight away, like all these adverts for like bean bags and fat sacks and stuff are coming up. You're going, why isn't the fitness industry like that? Why don't you go to Zumba and then you walk out and then you get a really cool notification going, hey, you like Zumba? Have you tried Ben's jog spot? You know, so I think we've got to start to, one, look at it through the customer's eyes, and two, get that technology into, because we've been talking about it for ages. We've been talking about that kind of personalization via data, via habits, via goals. You know, you wanted to run a marathon. Did you realize that we do a running club? As simple as that. But we just don't do that. What happens is we become a hotel. You want to run a marathon, and then the salesperson goes, great, you want to run a marathon? Right, let's go and show you how to, and they take you straight to the area of the weights, you know, which actually that's probably, we know there's going to be some relationship there with training, but it's probably not what I want to see. Or, you know, some chick comes in and she goes, I just love dance. And they take you straight to the yoga studio. It's like, so I think we're very good at going, this is what we want to do. Let's just go right back down to basics. Let's, you know, from a marketing, let's just steer people in the right direction. Let's start to get data and use data for sure. I think this kind of anytime, anywhere has to happen. So, you know, if you're a health club or a brand at the moment, you haven't got an app that's doing live streaming and on demand, then you're probably not even in the market. But I don't think it's going to overtake, you know, because I think everybody's going, no, Zoom's the future. The health clubs will never open again. I hope so, otherwise I'm screwed.
I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe that for a second.
But I think it's this kind of physical space, digital space, phygital. It's horrible. Have you heard this?
I haven't heard that.
Phygital world. It's bloody ice, like it makes you.
Yeah, the way I see it, there's room for both. You know, they are slightly different markets. The online space is reaching people who wouldn't normally come to the physical space, as well as those who do normally come to the physical space. So for me, it's not that one is going to steal from the other, because even in the countries with the highest penetration rates, you're looking at 20, 21% of the population. There's plenty of room for the digital space.
I love that. I think it's quite interesting and worth talking and just docking like post-COVID. I think, and I can't think who, I think it was Todd Durkin I saw the other day. It's kind of like trends, and made a really good point, because my wife, she's a sports therapist, and he was like, you know, it's going to be digital and it's going to be phygital and it's going to be, so went through it. And the last one is like top 5 was massage. And I thought, and he was like, I thought actually that's quite cool, because like at the moment we're in a world where you don't even breathe on me, never mind touch me. So, and we're humans, right? So I think there could be something really nice, because this mind, headspace, mindfulness, touchy, kind of more sort of regenerative stuff. And also on the flip side, like we do a lot of these massive events here, these big, I don't know if you've seen on Facebook, these big like fitness concerts, like 5,000 people. You know, I'm dying to jump on a stage and go, Joburg, make some noise. And it goes,
for sure.
You know, the thought of going into a spin studio that should have a capacity of 50 and it's got like 10 bikes scattered across, and the instructor has a mask on, that a little piece of me kind of like inside like dies. So I think sort of post-COVID, I think there's going to be, I'm longing for this boom for this real sort of personalization, this kind of like balance. I think the whole hit thing, I think, has just been done to death. So it's that kind of balance, and maybe this kind of more therapeutic side, but also this anytime, any place, anywhere, like big workouts, big fitness concerts. I'd love to see that stuff, because I think that's what it's like doing a workout on your own and then doing it with 5,000 people, same experience. It's like watching soccer at the moment, I guess, in a stadium where there's like 3 people watching compared to like 33,000 people.
It doesn't have the atmosphere, does it? When you're on your own, you can have a great workout.
Yeah, I mean, I've got probably on a passing or my last kind of word, I've got something I've called, it's called Spaniels and Scones. So going back to 1986, 87. So that health club I used to work at, they had a dog called Saxon. And so it was Ken was the guy that used to make fresh bread and scones and make the coffee. So as soon as you open that studio, I can smell it now. That sensory experience, you'd open the door, you could smell the coffee, you could smell the bread, the scones. And that was Ken. He was like the host with the most. And then Dave was like six-pack, pecs, like beautiful looking human. And like all the guys wouldn't admit it, but they wanted to look like him. Yeah. And all the women wanted to make a real man of him. But he used to teach all the classes. Now, and he would do the whole breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. And at the end of that class, the dog would run through the class and everyone would tap the dog. And I look back and go, I've told that story thousands of times. I've sat in Soweto in South Africa, in like the biggest town, the millions of people live in a township. And I spoke about that because that's stuff that you just need to try. We as an industry need to get back into the culture of running of running the business that happens to be fitness, like any business, but knowing people's names, creating community, making people feel like they belong, all that stuff. The spaniels and scone, the coffee, the bread, the high five, the dog, the kind of the family vibe. It was a small club. It was easy to do. Try and do that in a health club like Virgin Active Claremont with 4,000 humans going. It's like an airport. It's difficult, but there are ways and there are means. When you finish a class, stand at the exit and everyone gets a high five. Well, a high elbow at the moment.
A high elbow.
I think, so I think we need to get back whatever the future is. I don't think we've got it right in the past. I'm like, let's just work on some basics first. And the tech should be there to just enable us to do things better and quicker and easier. But, that's, unfortunately, I think in a lot of, look at, kids, sort of millennials, if you like, not so much kids, but look at the millennials, a lot of them maybe struggle to have this, well, not maybe this kind of conversation, but a face-to-face conversation because they're great at having this digital experience. So then you try and train that into these guys to go, no, you've got to look people in the eye, ask how they're getting on. Are they achieving their goals? That's kind of quite alien to them. So I think we've really got to go back to those basics because ultimately that, I think as humans, I think when we get out of this, we're really craving that, especially in South Africa. We've only we had a window between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. to actually go out and exercise. The rest of the time you're locked up in your house.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think you're absolutely right. I think that this concept of, like you've explained there, of personalization and connection is kind of how I would summarize what you were saying there. So key. And I do believe that you're right and that humans crave that, and that when they feel they have that, they're going to return again and again to that experience. I mean, just listening to you share some of the things about your early history and how fond you are of those memories, I can sense it. And if our clients and the members in the gyms that we work with have those kind of memories about what they do in relation to our business, then they're not going to leave, are they? They're going to come back again and again. And there's so much competition now in the digital space. If in some ways it can become a little cold unless there's the human connection behind it. And I really think that's a great thing to end the show on, to be honest, that reminder of connection and personalization. Any last words before we bring this to a close?
No, mate. I mean, I've got another hour. I can keep going, but it's been great. I mean, obviously we've known each other through the convention and stuff for many years, and Premiere and stuff. And I think what you've done is amazing. You created an absolute great sort of product here. So I'm really kind of proud and privileged to be asked to just chew the fat and talk fitness. That's the passion, right? That's what we do. So it's been absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much, Ben. It's been brilliant.
And thank you, Ceri. I really appreciate your time and your honest candor during today's discussion. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and share via social media. You can also rate the show on iTunes, Stitcher, or YouTube. If you'd like to know more about us, then check out our range of online courses at www.nordicfitnesseducation.com.